We've got 8 of the fastest race boats in the world. It's their first appearance ever here in this state, and I'm looking for a lot of excitement.
Jim, it's going to be one heck of a season in Thunderboat racing this year. We have 8 boats in the pits today, 8 new teams. We're all set. The Atlas Van Lines and Miss Budweiser are all set to go out there and renew their relationship on the race cars. I think we're going to have one whale of a show here on ESPN.
Not only that, but you come with the Atlas Van Lines at 133.5 in qualifying, the Miss Budweiser at 132.5, just a mile-an-hour difference. They're picking up right where they left off at the Houston World Championship, the Budweiser Cup last year.
Oh, most definitely. A lot of our other teams, the Rich Plan Food Service, 125 miles an hour. The Squire Shop, 125 miles an hour. 4 new boats here, 8 competitors. It's going to be a whale of a show.
And there are 2 rookies in the field also, which we'll be talking about. We'll have all the exciting action of Heat 1 right here on ESPN in just a moment. Heat 1 is about to start. The 4 fastest boats and qualifiers are on the course, and to bring us rundown on who's out there and what they're expected to do, let's call in Sam Cole. Sam?
Thank you very much, Jim Hendrick. Our first boat, the U1, the Atlas Van Lines, headquartered out of Seattle, Washington, driven by Chip Hanauer, who's 28 years old. The boat's owned by Fran Muncie, and the crew chief is Jim Harvey. It's a blue and white boat. The second boat, the U12, the Miss Budweiser out of Seattle, Washington, owned by the winningest owner in hydroplane history, Bernie Little, the crew chief, Dave Cully. And it's a red, white, and gold Griffin-powered boat. Our third boat, the Rich Plan Food Service, driven by Ron Snyder. The boat hails from Madison, Indiana, and it's numbered U6. It's red, white, and yellow. And our fourth boat, the Squire Shop, driven by Earl Hall, a rookie out of Hampton, Virginia, owned by Bob Stile of Seattle, Washington. The boat U2, and it's red and white.
Thank you very much, Sam Cole. The boats are now in corner number 3 to come around for a flying start. We have 21 seconds to the start of this race. On the inside, it is Jim Cropfield from Cincinnati. He'll take the slot number 1 along the buoy line in the Miss Budweiser, and coming up saying, I'll go right along with you in slot number 2 is the Atlas Van Lines.
Jim, we've had an accident. Earl Hall has spun the Squire Shop up in the upper turn and flipped it around.
Well, we'll have to see. The start is legal. They're going to go side by side. The 2 boats down here, Budweiser and Atlas Van Lines. Budweiser and Atlas Van Lines, and following is the Rich Plan Miss Madison across the line. So we have 3 legal starters. As Sam told you, Sam, put the glasses on him down there and see what you can pick up as we take our leaders off of corner number 2 right now on the inside, and raising up a fine rooster tail, Jim Cropfield, out by about 3 boat lengths. Ahead of the Atlas Van Lines, who was second, driven by Chip Hanauer, and of course the Rich Plan Food Service, driven by Ron Snyder of Piqua, Ohio.
Jim, as they enter that upper turn, Earl Hall is in the Squire Shop. I'm sure they're going to have to slow everything down. As the boats came out for the start, Hall spun the boat. He was nearly thrown out of it. He's sitting in the turn, waving at them, though, now as Jim Cropfield takes the Miss Budweiser through our number 3 and 4 turns.
So as a rookie, he's still to see his first heat of competition, but there'll be many more times he'll get a chance, and more here today. As we come off of corner number 4, the Budweiser swung way wide. Jim Cropfield took it way wide, and ducking inside now in lane number 1 on the hip, trying to hide, is the Atlas Van Lines, and here comes your leader at the completion of lap number 1. Budweiser.
Here's our second place boat, Jim. It's the Atlas Van Lines and the defending national champion Chip Hanauer in the helm of Fran Muncie's boat.
Actually, they get points, Sam, for first, second, third, and fourth place finishes in these heats, as our third place boat comes across to complete lap number 1, and that is the Rich Plan Miss Madison. Now, you know that Jim Cropfield getting a good start like that, I don't think Chip Hanauer is going to press him too much, because you just need enough points to qualify for the final here today. Why don't you explain the point rundown?
That's right, Jim, because as we go down here, these 4 boats will advance to the winner-take-all final. Our next 4 will vie for the points to get into the final 2 slots for our final heat. The first speed there for Cropfield, a fast one, 130.246. That's the fastest he's run all week.
You had a chance to talk to Jim Cropfield earlier today, just prior to race time, Sam, and let's have that conversation right now.
Jim, the last time we were on ESPN, you had a rather unfortunate finish down in Houston, Texas last year. I'm sure you're looking for better results here today.
I hope it's a lot better. Of course, I'm not disappointed what happened down there. I did a good job of learning how to drive the boat. That was my first really good race, and we had some fast times. We broke the world record on the competition for the 1-lap speed, and it was a little disappointing that what happened at the end, but I know I can do the job now, and I know I can race against Chip and the other guys and hold my own.
problem in the Atlas Van Lines here. Our problem with Atlas Van Lines is slowing way down now here at the completion of lap number 2, and he's going into corner number 2, and he's sounding a little sick. We heard the engines kind of rev up like that, and we've 2.5 laps to go. Our leader's way down the back chute now, as our third place boat just comes whipping by in front of us, and that is from Piqua, Ohio, is Ron Snyder, and solid third. Our fourth place boat, of course, our fourth starter did not start. Earl Hall, the rookie, spun the square shop out on corner number 3 prior to the start of this race. Meanwhile, Jim Kropfeld is our leader as he goes down into corner number 3 and will come around here to complete lap number 3. And now the Atlas Van Lines as we swing to our right. The Atlas Van Lines is going dead in the water. Atlas Van Lines is plowing right there. He is plowing water. He's got troubles in the engine housing, and boy, that's really something now. 121.9. You see Kropfeld slowed the Budweiser down by about 9 miles an hour, Sam.
Jim, I got to believe Chip Hanauer's trying to get the boat back up on a plane as best as possible as he plows down our backstretch here. Hanauer, as you see, is lower in the boat this year. Vice last year. As you see him going along, here's Kropfeld, our leader. Hanauer lost an engine. Kropfeld coasting here to an easy heat win with Ron Snyder in the surprising Rich Plan Food Service in second place.
Well, they need to have the top 6 point getters in the elimination heats and advance to the final for the Missouri Governor's Cup here today. And now if the Atlas Van Lines, who's going dead in the infield right now and is completely out of this heat, if he loses out, he gets 0 points. He's going to have a hard, pressurized time of it the next heat.
That's right, Jim. As we see Ron Snyder here, that's the fastest this boat has ever run in its 8-year history when it turned 125.5 miles an hour. The boat owned by the city of Madison, Indiana, as they head into our first turn here. Snyder picked it up last year in Detroit, if you remember, replacing Tom Sheehy, and did one heck of a job last year.
Our leader is Miss Budweiser, shown right there in corner number 3 last time. Jim Kropfeld brought it through here at 113.350. He knows now all he has to do is save the engine. The green flag is out, which will indicate here to the driver that he has just 1 more lap to go. The green flag is the signal for 1 more lap to go. The next one that'll appear is the checkered flag, and coming right at our ESPN cameras. Looking at the green flag, getting the wave, is Jim Kropfeld from Cincinnati, Ohio, in Bernie Little's beer wagon, the Miss Budweiser. And he doesn't sound like he's running on all 12 either. Sounds a little rough. But he gives a wave as he comes by. Now with less than a lap to go, he's on our way. Rich Plan Food Service, of course, in the meantime, due to the technical difficulties of the Atlas Van Lines, who is now in the infield with Chip Hanauer watching the parade go by. Here's your second place boat, and if he can keep it going in the engine housing, we'll pick up 300 badly needed points. Our leader is now down the back chute, Miss Budweiser, with Jim Kropfeld, with about 3/4 of a lap to go.
You know, Jim Kropfeld's got to be happy here because his last appearance on ESPN, he ran out of gas when he was on this last of the final of our World Championship in Houston.
You know, I was calling that race with you, Sam, and there's our dejected driver of the Atlas Van Lines, Chip Hanauer, who took advantage of the Kropfeld running out of gas to win that World Championship down there.
That's right. As you see the Atlas and Budweiser here today, the Atlas Van Lines Corporation leads Anheuser-Busch 42-41 in race victories. And Mr. Bernie Little is going to have a hand up on him after this heat win.
Well, this heat win, of course, will give the Budweiser 400 points with 1 more elimination heat to go. Tops he could get going into the final would be a perfect day of 800 points. But then after that, it doesn't matter how many points you have. First one across the line to take the checker flag would be the winner of this event. Here comes the checker flag out for Miss Budweiser. Jim Kropfeld coming right at us down here at the starting line, and he will take 400 points. He is slowed way down to about 105.822 after having a lap of over 130 mile an hour. It's Jim Kropfeld from Cincinnati, Ohio, giving away to the crowd in Bernie Little's beer wagon. Second place finisher is just coming off of corner number 4 right now as we look to our left. There's our leader going down for just a cool-off lap, while our leader, our second place boat rather, coming across now is Jim, make that Ron Snyder, driving the Rich Plan, Miss Madison, and 300 points as he takes the checker flag, and of course no points for this boat right here, the Atlas Van Lines, who started out to push real well, but you know this young man is going to be heard from. Okay, Sam, how about it? How do they stand
our
points?
Winner, the Miss Budweiser, driven by Jim Kropfeld with 400 points. Second place goes the Rich Plan Food Service, driven by Ron Snyder out of Piqua, Ohio, with 300 points. And did not finishing is the Atlas Van Lines and Chip Hanauer, and did not starting is the Squire Shop and Earl Hall, but they'll all be back later in the day.
And we'll be back with more action here from Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri. Our first race of the unlimited 1983 Thunderboat season. Jim Hendrick along with Sam Cole back here on Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri for the Missouri Governor's Cup. And it looks like, Sam, we only have 2 boats of the 4 that were scheduled to appear. Run down our lineup, if you will.
Jim on the course right now as they enter up to the turn to come down for the start. That's the Miss Pure Delight, U10, driven by Bobby Howard out of Cape Coral, Florida. We're 40 seconds away from the starting time right now. On the outside, it's the Executone and George Johnson. And pulling onto the race course right now is the Miss Tostiasti and Todd Yarling. Not starting is Jack Schaefer and the American Speedy Printing Special.
I don't think the Tostiasti started before the 1-minute gun. He may be black flagged by the referee. We'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, it's 20 seconds to the start of the race. As we look down to our left in quarter number 4, it is going to be, I believe, the Executone with George Johnson, and they're both pretty much the same colors. We'll have to watch how we call this. Followed by the Pure Delight with Bobby Howard as they come down with 5 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds. And we were just a little off on our count, but that was the starting gun that you heard. And coming down is George Johnson from the greater Seattle area in the Executone, followed by Bobby Howard, who not too long ago was a rookie out of Cape Coral, Florida. He drove a boat called the Captran. Today he's in the seat of a boat he owns and drives, the Pure Delight. Meanwhile, as we look down to our left, we can also see the Tostiasti, but I don't know if he's going to be a legal starter. What do you think, Sam?
Well, we're going to find out. We'll see what flag the officials give him as he goes by. Meanwhile, up that backstretch, though, Bobby Howard's gaining ground on George Johnson and the Executone. You see Executone, our leader, up in front. Howard just beginning to pick up as they go along there. This Executone boat is a fine-looking boat, rebuilt over the winter, Jim.
That's the Tostiasti that just come back now for a start, and the referee has made no indication. I think he may let him run. So 3 of the 4 boats. The 1 boat that did not start in this heat was the American Speedy Printing with Jack Schaefer Jr.
Jim, and Bobby Howard's really pulling up on George Johnson right now. He's in the rooster tail as they go into turn 3. Howard on the outside, Johnson on the inside, and Bobby Howard is our new leader, Jim Hendrick.
Yeah, he's just about to get there right now as we look down to our left end. Coming out of slot number 2 with a arcing, a wide rooster tail, keeping his RPMs up is Bobby Howard from Cape Coral, Florida, in the Miss Pure Delight. As they come off of quarter number 4 now, it looks like George Johnson, Executone, has come back with the lead. So they exchange right there at the apex, and then it'll be Johnson by about a boat length as they come down to complete lap number 1 in almost a side-by-side battle. And now here comes Bobby Johnson once again, or Bobby Howard, make that. Bobby Howard pulling up on George Johnson, almost side-by-side, and they are.
And Bobby Howard just took the lead, Jim, in the Miss Pure Delight, a boat out of Seattle, Washington, powered by a Carbo Turbo Allison.
That boat was owned by Pat O'Day on the West Coast in Seattle and had the only woman driver on the circuit last year as the Miss KYYX. But right now, George Johnson on that inside lane comes on the apex, comes off of the exit pin, and he takes the lead once again, but I believe coming up quickly now. Nope, Bobby Howard stays a little bit back.
George Johnson on the inside, Bobby Howard on the outside up that backstretch. Don't be deceived by the rooster tail. That second gush of water there is Bobby Howard in the Miss Pure Delight. And here he comes now about midway up the straightaway. Howard seems to get up enough speed to overtake George Johnson in the Miss Executone. And right now, Bobby Howard's back in the lead. That's deck-to-deck action, Jim Hendrick. Bobby Howard doing a heck of a job for his first day in the boat. He's on the outside, Johnson on the inside. And as they come through here, let's keep an eye as George Johnson and the Executone back off just a little bit. Howard brings it way, way out wide. Johnson stuffing it in on the inside as they reach the apex of the turn. Here comes Howard, and here comes Johnson. Jim Hendrick.
This is the slower flight. The fastest qualifiers we saw earlier today. This is the second flight of 4 boats. 3 have started, and these 2 are giving the fans here at Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri what a show as they come down now to complete lap number 2, almost side by side. George Johnson on the inside and Bobby Howard on the outside.
There goes Howard again, Jim. George Johnson just does not seem to have the shoot speed that he needs here today. He's got a better turning boat because as you see it, they're going through there. Plus, he has the inside track on the racetrack. You see the wall of water thrown up by the skid fin of the Miss Executone. On the outside of that, the other wall of water by the Miss Pure Delight and Bobby Howard. Right now, Johnson's our leader, but here comes Howard again, Jim Hendrick, as they go up the backstretch.
As they come off of quarter number 2 now, on lap number 3, it is George Johnson opening up about a 5-boat length lead now over Bobby Howard. And let's see if Bobby's going to challenge coming up that back chute. They're only running a little over 100 miles an hour, but they're giving a good competitive spirit. They're evenly matched. And actually, when you come right down to it, Sam, that is the reason for the fan plan. fastest boats running against the fastest boats in the next group when they're more equally competitive, gives the fans something to see. That's the format.
That's right. And Bobby Howard's doing a heck of a job here in the Miss Pure Delight. There he goes on the outside. That spray coming back is off the Executone coming through the turn. And let's see, Johnson seems to be bogging down just a little bit. Howard coming up on the outside. Jim, you know, this is one heck of a boat race in this slower flight. They're averaging speeds of about 102, 103 miles an hour, and they're only about 2 or 3 seconds apart. Howard went a little bit too wide there, and Johnson's back in the lead, clear cut. You know, George Johnson last year, Jim, finished second on our ESPN televised race from Tri-Cities, Washington in the Executone, owned by Bill Worcester, Jerry Lovell, and Jurgen Sauerland out of Seattle. Bobby Howard was a rookie back in 1981 with the Captran Resorts boat and just put this team together out of Cape Coral, Florida.
And the Captran Resorts boat, you drove the boat from the rear, sitting over the prop, more to say. Now he's in a cab over where he's way out in front. And there are pros and cons to those two type of boats.
Right now, you're going to see George Johnson put a lap on rookie Todd Yarling in the Miss Tosti-Asti. Yarling got out there late for the start and has just kind of settled back. As we said earlier, the speed's very consistent here, 102.8. Now George Johnson's got his foot into it, but here comes Mr. Howard again up the backstretch. Now Bobby has changed lanes here, Jim, as they go up there. Johnson's in lane 2, Howard's in lane 1. Now let's see what happens. Is Howard's going to get pinched, or is he going to go to the outside and try to stay outside of George Johnson?
Meanwhile, in the Tosti-Asti, the Todd Yarling, who's a rookie, wisely got on the outside and let them come inside of him. He's trying to get his feet wet, of course. And here we are at quarter number 3 with about a lap and a quarter to go, and this heat will be history. And it is. Well, Bobby Howard just stuck on the outside again off of his right hip.
Little cat and mouse here with George Johnson. You know, they had an offshore race out in Seattle about a month ago, and the winner of that offshore race was George Johnson.
Yes,
so he's winning 1-2 here this year.
He's a former offshore racer, and the green flag is out. The green flag is streaming in the breeze here at Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri, showing the boys they've got one more lap to go. And if these guys, either Johnson in the Executone or Bobby Howard in the Pure Delight, have any tricks up their sleeve, they're going to have to do it right now. Here they come almost side by side.
And there goes Bobby Howard back in the lead on our last lap, Jim. This is going to be a dog race.
As they go down now to corner number 1 for the final time in the second heat of the day.
There you see Johnson on the inside, Howard on the outside. Right now, they're probably neck and neck. Johnson, the better turning boat. He takes it around the buoys on the apex, but here comes Howard in that rooster tail as they head up that backstretch.
If they stay close, it's going to be a drag race off that corner number 4, the run for the checker flag. We'll have to watch and see what they do.
That's right, and here it comes. Bobby Howard's just not giving up any ground at all to George Johnson as they go up there. Johnson, a little more acceleration in that Miss Executone, but right now he's beginning to slow down. He doesn't have the straightaway speed that he wants. He's heading into turn 3. Here comes Howard on the outside. Jim Hendrick, you're going to have a drag boat finish.
No doubt about it. Here he comes now, moving up on the outside. They're almost side by side as they come into corner number 3. They hit the entrance pin just about together. We'll have to watch and see. Now here's the nose of
It's Pure Delight, Jim.
Pure Delight with Bobby Howard coming on the outside right now. His rooster tail seems to be a little higher, trying to keep his RPMs up while George Johnson will be pinned. Johnson is going to be pinched a little bit. He couldn't swing as wide as he wanted to, and now it is a drag race right off the 4th pin, and here the checker flag is waiting. As they both come down, they have to put their foot in the carburetor, get on the nitrous oxide button if they're running it. They're going to have to run loose, and it's going to be very, very close. We'll call it for you. As they come down, it's going to be George Johnson. George Johnson on the inside by about a boat length and a half over Bobby Howard. What a finish, Jim Hendrick. 1-2. Now, explain the point systems for those boats.
Half points, 200 points, about a boat-length win for George Johnson. And that was a whale of a job there by both of those drivers here today. Johnson took the inside. Now, up in the upper turn is where it was won. Johnson up there, pinched Howard outside, made him go wide and didn't keep it up. Our winner in this heat, the Executone, driven by George Johnson with 200 points. Second place, the Miss Pure Delight and Bobby Howard with 150 points. And in third, it's the Miss Tosti-Asti and Todd Yarling with 113 points. The American Speedy Printing did not get started, but she'll be back later in the day.
Get the inside scoop. Jim Hendrick along with Sam Cole as we now go to the second action of the day for the fast plate. And leading the pack up is the rookie, Earl Hall, who spun out his last attempt and did not get started. He leads him up to the apex, and he's somewhat early. We have 30 seconds to the start of this race. He might be all right in the position. Followed by the Atlas Van Lines and the Budweiser, and moving up fast is the Rich Plan as a wall of water greets our ESPN cameras here in the third heat of action of the day, second heat action for the fast flight. It looks like it's going to be Atlas Van Lines. Well, it's lane 1. It'll be Budweiser in lane 2. Lane 3 is the Squire on the outside, and here they come with 5 seconds to go, and going to be right on the money.
That was a beautiful shot and start, Jim Hendrick. Jim Kropfeld on the money. He's in lane 2. Chip Hanauer in lane 1. Earl Hall on the outside as they dive into that first turn.
Lots of water as the Budweiser in lane 2. Comes off of corner number 2 right now. That's your leader, and the inside going to sneak up on him will be Chip Hanauer in the Atlas Van Lines. He's going to try to drag him down that back chute. Boy, they are really hauling about 180 mile an hour. There's our second place boat, the Atlas, in the rooster tail of the lead boat, the Budweiser, as they come on down now toward coming number 3. There you can see the difference. The blue boat is the Atlas on the inside. On the outside and leading by about 2 boat lengths is the Budweiser, our leader there. He hangs it on the hook. On the outside, skid fin and starts his angle of attack, keeps his RPMs up, hits a little rough water now, and now we'll shake it wide and loose, coming down a complete lap number 1, and this should be the fastest lap of the day right now, although we had over 130 last time, Sam. We'll have to keep the clock on him.
That's right, Jim Hendrick. Chip Hanauer on the inside, Jim Kropfeld on the outside. Kropfeld's up by about a half a second. That's about a boat length right now as they cross the line, and Jim Kropfeld and Bernie Little's Miss Budweiser.
Unofficially, I've got about a minute and 10 seconds for that lap. That's all it took them to get around 2.5 miles. A minute and 10 seconds. We'll have to wait for the time.
This is a drag race, Jim. Kropfeld on the outside, Hanauer on the inside. And you know, everyone said all week here that the Atlas Van Lines was the quicker boat on the inside through the turns. But Jim Kropfeld has sure found the quickest way around this race course.
So far, as he comes down that back chute now, he's got about, well, there he's riding pretty smoothly there and has about an 8 boat length lead now. And let's see if Chip Hanauer, who needs points, will try to catch up. He has no points to the 400 for the Budweiser. Well, we were wrong. It was not over the fastest lap today. 129.3, Sam, for the Budweiser.
That's right, Chip Hanauer and the Atlas Van Lines on the inside here. A new cockpit design. He's down inside the boat, seat belted in and everything. And Jimmy Kropfeld just pinched him in a little bit tighter there, Jim Hendrick. He's given him a little bit of a lesson.
This is the start of many, many heat actions of rivalry between these two top boats, to be sure. As they come down now to complete lap number 2, there's your leader, this Budweiser. Whoa! Got a little out of shape there.
Chip Hanauer did the same thing in the Atlas Van Lines there, Jim. There seems to be a little bit of turbulence as they head into that starting line area. They both come up out of the water, but as they go through there, Hanauer's not giving up, Kropfeld's not giving ground, and it's going to be a shot up that backstretch.
And now, right now, you see the Atlas Van Lines has closed some ground on the Budweiser as they hit the nitrous oxide button. That'll give him from, about 100 to 160 in 6 seconds. Now look at the Atlas Van Lines is on the inside, and he's getting a little light, Sam. The Atlas Van Lines getting a little light. He comes up in there as he comes in now. That's the Atlas Van Lines.
Chip Hanauer stuffing it in there, Jim Hendrick.
Yes, he knows they have just 2 more laps to go. And boy, I'll tell you, he came up light on that nose, and I think he felt the fact that he did get up high. Our third place boat.
In third place, it's the Rich Plant Food Service and Ron Snyder. Hanauer on the inside, Kropfeld on the outside. Jim, they're going to drag it down here. And the Atlas Van Lines has slowed way down, and Chip Hanauer is bringing it to the inside of the race course.
Yes, he has another engine problem, and that'll give it all to Budweiser. Right now, Kropfeld does not know he's gone. The Atlas Van Lines is going dead in the water, boarding the infield for the second time today. And Chip Hanauer, your national, world, and your overall Gold Cup winner last year, has had his problems today.
1982 was the Atlas theme. We'll push the Bud until she breaks. Well, 1983, the Bud's pushing the Atlas till she breaks. Jim Kropfeld's got a real smooth ride as he heads up the backstretch, and Ronnie Snyder's slipping in here for second place again in the Rich Plant Food Service.
Well, earlier today, we have a dejected man sitting on his boat once again for the second time. Chip Hanauer had high hopes earlier today in the pit area. We had a chance to talk to him. After taking it all last year, everything there was, what do you hope to accomplish this year?
Well, yesterday's home run doesn't win today's ball game, so it's a whole new game, and we'd like to go out and win the national championship again and the Gold Cup and all those things, but like I said, it's a new year.
Where's your biggest competition coming from?
It's got to be the Budweiser. They're a first-rate organization. They've got a lot of money, and they race very, very well, so it's got to be them.
Things have changed with your boat this year. I understand you're testing some new safety equipment.
Yeah, something we're really excited about is that I think this is going to do for boat racing maybe what the roll cage did for automobile racing, making a safer cockpit so that a driver can get a boat upside down and not suffer the grave consequences that we've had to in the past.
Are you going to be snug in that boat? Will you be able to come out?
Yeah, it's all on a quick release system, and if the boat were upside down, it's just a matter of pushing one button and I'm free.
Well, you know, when you come right down to it, earlier in that conversation, high hopes for Chip Hanauer, and so far today, nothing but dejection. The second time he will not make the final heat. Here comes our winner. As he comes down, the checker flag is waiting. For the second straight time in a perfect afternoon so far from Cincinnati, Ohio, and Bernie Little's Miss Budweiser, here is the winner, Jim Kropfeld.
And he gives everyone a wave there as he wins his second heat here for the day. That'll give him 800 points heading into that winner-take-all finale.
Our second place boat now coming off of corner number 4 will be for the second time today, second place to the Budweiser from Piqua, Ohio, the boat out of Madison, Indiana. Ron Snyder and the Rich Plan Miss Madison.
And he's going to come in close here by the camera to give all our viewers at home a real show as he brings that boat in for the second time today in second place. That'll give him 600 points as he gives everyone at home a wave.
So the final order finish will be Miss Budweiser first, the Rich Plan Food Service second, the Squire Shop third. Atlas Van Lines did not finish, but all 4 do qualify because of the qualifying times earlier in the week to make the final. And we'll have to look forward to the next preliminary heat to see what 2 boats will advance to the final also. Here in Missouri's Lake of the Ozarks, the first event for 1983 Thunder Boats, Jim Hendrick along with Sam Cole. As our second flight makes its second appearance, this will be the final elimination heat of the day. And leading the pack up there, I believe it's the Executone, followed by Pure Delight. These 2 boats had a heck of a battle, Sam, last time out.
That's right, Jim. We're about 15 seconds away. Everybody's slowing down here. We're 10 seconds and 2 buoys. We may have a couple of guys jump the gun here if they don't back way off of it. It's Pure Delight on the inside, Executone on the outside, and let's see who's going to get it across here. There's the gun, and they're off.
It was almost like a drag boat start because they had to slow way down there way early. And by our rules of the Unlimited Commission of the American Powerboat Association, if you cross that starting line before the clock goes completely black and the gun goes off, you're penalized an extra lap.
That's right, but we're hooking up again here, Jim. As you see, Bobby Howard and the Miss Pure Delight head up the backstretch in the lead. Here comes George Johnson on the outside, and this is a heck of a race. It's Howard and the Pure Delight ahead. He just eked ahead of Johnson there. Johnson on the rooster tail as they head up that backstretch, and this could be a replay of our last elimination heat between these 2 boats because the one with the most points here advances to that winner-take-all finale.
That's exactly right, and Miss Tosti with the rookie Todd Yelling is now in 3rd place as we go down to corner number 3. On the inside, both boats are just about painted identical, blue and white. And we can see the
Pure Delight there.
Pure Delight on the inside. That's Bobby Howard, who entered our sport of Unlimiteds a couple of years ago. He now has about, Miss Executive's about 4 boat lengths off the pace, and about another 12 boat lengths back is Todd Yelling in the Miss Tosti. It looks like the Pure Delight slowed down off of corner number 4. That gave the Executone with George Johnson a chance to make up a couple of boat lengths, and now they're coming down for the completion of lap number 1 of 5. And the winner of this one should advance into the final. But then again, we'll have to think about that. Well, here goes George Johnson. He's taking over the lead. There's fire coming out. Fire coming out of our now number 2 place boat, and there he goes inside the course, with fire belching out of his carburetors just behind his helmet. And into the infield goes Miss Pure Delight, and it'll be all George Johnson. If he can keep it together, he's on his way to the bank, and he will qualify for today's final. Moving into 2nd place now is the Tosti with the rookie Todd Yelling. As George Johnson goes down the back chute now with a comfortable lead, and almost assured if he can keep it going to get into the final at 106.7 mile an hour. There's your Tosti, your 2nd place boat. Anyway, 106.7 mile an hour was the first lap for George Johnson Executone. We had a chance to talk to him before today's race down in the pit area about this being the start of a second full season in Unlimiteds. George, starting your second full year now, the Executone team has come right along. How do you see the season?
Well, we're looking for a good one. We hope to make the whole circuit this year. We're going to try anyway.
George, whatever happened, what were the facts behind the accident where did you lose your rudder in Seattle and then cut across the infield?
The steering actually broke. We raised the boat and just, proved that fact that it did break. We thought about leaving it down there, but...
Well, now the boat you're riding today is the one that sank.
Yeah, that's the same boat. Same boat, right? The first time we've had it out was yesterday since it sunk, so Kelson rebuilt it there in Seattle for us. Did a real good job on it.
I saw the whole bottom of the boat go up on its side. I thought, where is he going? And I imagine you thought the same thing.
I was wondering the same thing.
Well, a period of frustration right now for Bobby Howard from Cape Coral, Florida. His pure delight. He's signaling the towboat, please come in and get me home.
It's starting to sink, Jim.
Is it starting to
Yeah,
sink?
you see the tail going down?
Oh, my gosh, he needs help right away. The tail is going down. He's taking on water. And here comes our victor for the second straight time today in Flight 2, George Johnson in the Executone, who we've just talked to just moments earlier. So he will advance to the final heat. There's the checker flag for the Executone. George Johnson. Second place will go to the rookie, Todd Garling. It is Miss Tosti Asti. And a towboat is on the way to Bobby Howard in the Pure Delight. You know, from here in Missouri's Lake of the Ozarks, the waters are somewhat calm, but the thunder is still to come as the championship heat for the Governor's Cup of Missouri is up for grabs. And before the boats come out of the pit area for the final heat action, winner take all of the checker flag today, our sidekick Sam Cole had a chance to talk to the boss of the Unlimited Division of the American Powerboat Association in the pit area just prior to today's race. Let's go to Sam.
Today's Missouri Governor's Cup represents the opening event in the 1983 Thunderboat World Series. And with me is Commissioner Fred Alter, who's put together a $1.1 million series this year. And Fred, I know you're looking forward to an exciting Thunderboat year.
Oh, I think probably we got the best fleet, the most money, the most coverage that we've had in many, many years.
Thunderboat racing, Fred, a lot of new companies involved this year, new boats. What's the outlook for 1983?
Well, 83, we're looking forward to a very full circuit. It'll culminate at Houston with the World Championship and a recent visit that our representatives made to Brussels. We expect several foreign entries for that event.
What about this race in particular? This is probably one of the largest and fastest fleets they've ever had for an opening race. A lot of work this winter getting new companies involved.
Oh, yes, there are many national companies coming into the sport to join our Budweisers and Atlas Van Lines and the ones that have traditionally been supporting unlimited hydroplane racing.
What about Thunderboat racing? Where do you see it heading over the next couple of years?
Oh, well, we're getting bigger and faster boats, better fleets, better attendance, better race committees. We're here at the Lake of the Ozarks, and I'm just fantastically pleased with the results that the committee has done up here.
Unlimited hydroplane racing. Last year we had 5 different winners on ESPN. Do you see 5 different winners this year?
Well, I'd like to, that'd be sure. I think that the boats are competitive. I think that last year we showed that there's 4 or 5 boats that can go out and win it on any other day. I think it's sort of like a horse race, the Preakness, for example.
Unlimited Commissioner Fred Alter.
The final field as the boats are starting to come out on the course. Miss Budweiser with Jim Kropfeld. The Rich Plan Food Service with Ron Snyder. The Atlas Van Lines driven by Chip Hanauer. The Squire Shop with Earl Hall and George Johnson in the Executone. Any one of those boats, first one to take the checker flag takes top money. And, of course, the championship of this, the first Missouri Lake of the Ozarks Governor's Cup. In just a moment, all the action. First, the finalists are on the course now for this winner-take-all heat. Sam, run down the final field.
Jim, we've got the Atlas Van Lines and Chip Hanauer, the Squire Shop with rookie Earl Hall aboard, the Rich Plan Food Service with Ron Snyder, the Miss Budweiser and Jim Kropfeld, and the Miss Tosti Asti and Todd Yarling, the Executone, not making the field.
And the 2 favorites would have to be Miss Budweiser with Jim Kropfeld and the Atlas Van Lines with Chip Hanauer, who battled all day long. Right now, a lot of water being plowed by the Budweiser. Whoa! The Budweiser's just hooked in. The inside flame is coming out of the top of the engine. Sam, put your glasses on him. He's got a lot of problems.
Jim, we're about 30 seconds away from the start. Rich Plan Madison on the outside coming around here. The Budweiser fire shooting out of that engine. But right now, let's put our attention back as Ron Snyder's got this start wired, Jim Hendrick.
Ron Snyder's coming up all by himself right now. He's got, the, as you say, the start wired. There's the starting gun, and here comes Ron Snyder in the Rich Plan, Miss Madison, and he's on his way to the bank with a good lead, and the other favorite, Atlas Van Lines, is back in fourth.
Jim, the community-owned Miss Madison Rich Plan Food Service on the field in the lead. Second place at Tosti Asti and Todd Yarling as they head into that first turn. Snyder's a good 15 seconds ahead of everyone, Jim. Tosti Asti second. There's the Miss Budweiser.
She's still burning. I think he overloaded it. He overloaded it, and he's got a stack fire. I don't think he's in any danger as we pick up our leader now. In lap number 1 of 5, the Rich Plan Miss Madison, Ron Snyder, from Piqua, Ohio, the boat representing the community of Madison, Indiana, where we'll race along about the 3rd of July, is now on his way to the bank, down the back chute, and toward corner number 3, with about a 10-second lead over the rest of the field.
Jim, Ron Snyder had that start wired from the beginning. As they went up into that turn, he was ahead of everyone else. Chip Hanauer giving chase. He's in second place right now after going by the Miss Tosti in the backstretch over there. But here's Ronnie Snyder bringing the Rich Plan Food Service around turn number 4.
He also passed Earl Hall, the rookie, in the square shop to take over second, and he's going to set his sights on the leader right here, who's coming down to complete lap number 1 in the Rich Plan Miss Madison, getting a little bounce through some slop as he comes down to complete lap number 1, and it's Ron Snyder.
And here comes Chip Hanauer in the Atlas Van Lines, Jim. He's about 9 seconds behind right now. Ron Snyder's first lap, by the way, 122.951. Hanauer 9 seconds back. Snyder's in turn number 2.
Snyder's coming out of turn number 10. Coming down the back chute. And he's going to look it over his shoulder.
Jim, they did a lot of work to that boat this past winter. It came out here. It was the first boat on the water here in the state of Missouri, and it was the fastest boat the first day. Chip Hanauer in the Atlas Van Lines getting things, shaking it loose, but here's Ron Snyder. He's fixing his goggles as he goes up there, and there's Jimmy Kropfeld, the Miss Budweiser, and you know he's got to be dejected.
Yeah, he's going to watch the rest of the parade go by now. He had 2 perfect days, 2 perfect heats earlier today, great 100 points, and he was the favorite along with the Atlas Van Lines. And Ron Snyder, by the way, a former Budweiser driver. His last win was in Miss Budweiser back in the late 70s, and if he can keep it all together in the engine room today, he'll come home the winner as he heads down now to complete lap number 2.
And as we watch him come down here, Jim, Chip Hanauer is giving chase in the Atlas Van Lines. Last lap, he was 9 seconds ahead. Let's put the watch on him, and we'll get the split as he crosses the starting line here. Ron Snyder out in front of the Rich Plan Food Service.
Those are turbocharged Allisons.
Here's Chip Hanauer, Jim. He's cut it back to about 8.5 seconds here on his second lap here. 8.5 seconds. He's gaining ground on Ron Snyder. Snyder's lap speed that time, 117.647. So he lost 5 miles an hour in the Rich Plan, but he's still got an 8.5 second lead over the Atlas Van Lines.
Well, the Atlas Van Lines is going to have to make up a bit of room in just 1.5 seconds per lap, or he'll never catch Ronnie Snyder in the Rich Plan Miss Madison, who's now down the back chute halfway through lap number 3.
And Jim, as he goes up that backstretch, our fans at home are going to see him wiping his goggles. There's oil coming out of that engine. I don't know if they have mechanical problems at this point in time, but as he goes up there, each time he wipes off his goggles, and it could be he's getting oil all over himself, and right now he's got everybody cheering for him around this beautiful Lake of the Ozarks course.
As we pick up our number 3 boat, that is the Square Shop. Out of West Virginia, he's a rookie, right?
That's Earl Hall aboard Bob Stiles Squire Shop. His first race in an unlimited hydroplane. Here comes Ronnie Snyder in the Rich Plan Food Service. But here comes Chip Hanauer, Jim. We'll put the split on it and see how far a lead he has over the Atlas Van Lines, because each time around here, Atlas has creeped up just a little bit, but Mr. Snyder has the smooth water here this afternoon.
Right now, Ronnie Snyder has 2 more laps to go. He can hang on in the engine housing. He can be a surprise winner here today.
Chip Hanauer crosses the starting line, Jim. He's cut that lead now down to 6.5 seconds. Snyder into that turn. Snyder losing speed each lap, 114.796. We're setting things up for a fantastic finish here on Lake of the Ozarks, because here comes Mr. Hanauer, and this is the first time we've been able to see him in Snyder's rooster tail.
He's coming up fast now as Ronnie Snyder. Evidently knows he's... Oh, look at this! For the 3rd time today, an engine problem in the Atlas Van Lines. Holy cow! You talk about drama. That's the 2 top boats knocked off. 1 before the race starts and 1 before it's over.
But remember this, Ron Snyder doesn't know Mr. Hanauer's not back there anymore. As he goes up that backstretch, he still thinks he's there. And as he came out of the turn again, Jim, he was wiping his goggles. We don't know if anything's wrong, but normally when they do that, they're getting oil all over themselves.
There's the Budweiser driver, Jim Kropfeld, watching now. And I wonder what he's thinking now that he knows the Atlas Van Lines is down. And Ron Snyder in the Rich Plan Miss Madison's in the lead.
Jim, as Ron Snyder comes down here, we're watching him. Watch him as he goes by here. He's slowed down considerably. Let's see what happens when he comes across here, Jim. But he's slowed down considerably, but he's still got the green water out there. Ronnie last won a race, by the way, back in 1978, Tri-Cities, Washington. And last year, he was our number 4 boat in national high points in this same hall.
Well, he's a veteran. He's getting a good ride today. There's the Atlas Van Lines, the driver, Chip Hanauer, climbing out of his boat for the 3rd time today. 0 points. Has to be disappointing, but it's going to be a long season. And now Ron Snyder in the Rich Plan Miss Madison, coming off the apex of corners number 1 and 2. About 3/4 of a lap to go, and this man will be a happy man, as will the fans of the Rich Plan Miss Madison around the country today.
Jimmy slowed down considerably on that last lap, 102.975. Here's Earl Hall. He's running in second place right now aboard Bob Stiles Squire Shop. Ronnie Snyder lost 12 miles an hour on that lap, Jim, down to 102.9. Maybe he thinks he's got in the bank. Did you see him give Chip Hanauer a look as he went by? Right now, he's heading up the backstretch, and he's going to overtake Todd Yarling in the Miss Tosti-Asti.
I'll tell you this right now. If he has seen Chip Hanauer. He knows he's got a big lead. He's got to be hearing engine gremlins, or perhaps he really has a problem and is hoping it will not plague him until he takes the checker flag.
Well, let's watch as he goes through here. He's not taking any chances right now. You know, they talk about those last lap gremlins. Uh-oh, him and Mr. Yarling got just a little bit close there, but Ronnie Snyder brings it around turn 4 and heads for home.
A checker flag is waiting as Ron Snyder from Piqua, Ohio, in the Rich Plan Miss Madison, comes down to take the checker flag to win the Missouri Governor's Cup. The first race of the 1983 Thunderbolt season. There's the checker flag. No matter what happens now, he's the winner, Sam. And he gives away
smoke. That's right. Look at that wave. He's got to be happy, and so are 14,500 citizens of Madison, Indiana, my hometown.
Well, you know, second place will go to this man, a rookie from West Virginia, as we said.
Earl Hall aboard Bob Stiles Squire Shop. A good outing for him, and the rookie Todd Yarling takes a third place finish here also today.
So 2 out of 3 are rookies.
That's right, Jim, and fourth place will go today to Chip Hanauer in the Atlas Van Lines, while Jim Krupfeld and the Miss Budweiser will be in overall 5th.
We'll be back with the crew and the happy driver, the winning boat, Rich Plan Miss Madison, after this. Well, a very happy group, as you can see. John Hume, the crew chief of the Rich Plan Miss Madison, the winning driver, Ron Snyder, and the governor of the great state of Missouri. His name is Christopher Kit Bond, and I understand, Governor, you have a presentation to make.
I sure do. It's a great honor, Ron, to be able to present the first Governor's Cup trophy for the hydroplane races on the Lake of the Ozarks. We're delighted to have you start this great tradition in Missouri. We hope that you'll come back next year. We've enjoyed watching it. You did a superb job. You, your crew, everybody connected with the Rich Plan Food Service, Miss Madison, deserves a special vote of thanks and a very heavy trophy.
Yes, it sure is. Thank you, Governor.
Did you have a little problem there in the engine housing near the end, and maybe you couldn't have finished if it had been one more lap?
Well, anybody that understands turbocharging, we run wastegates, and then on the next to last lap, my right-hand wastegate was falling off, so I lost horsepower. But and I thought we were going dead down here in the corner on that lap, but she come on again, and I'll tell you the truth, I don't know what kept it running, but she come up to power again, and we finally made it around for the checkered flag.
Sam Cole, the expected battle between Miss Budweiser and Atlas Van Lines went on today, but not in the final heat.
No, Jim, it wasn't there, but I've got one question for Ron. All day long, you started behind everybody else. But here in the final heat, Ron, you started in front of everybody else. Was there a little strategy there?
Don't you know that's where it pays off, is that final heat?
Well, that was one whale of a boat race here today.
No doubt it was, and of course there are many more to come, and some of them will be here on ESPN. On behalf of this happy group, Sam Cole, this is Jim Hendrick. So long from Missouri's Lake of the Ozarks.